Less than a year from the midterm, state Senate Republicans are launching an investigation into the State Department of Justice. The newly created committee will focus on the agency's relationship with a New York University organization funded by Michael Bloomberg. The committee just holding its first hearing Thursday, and the chair, Senate President Mary Felskowski, talking with Jaron.
So can you start with just walking us through exactly what this committee will be investigating?
So the committee is going to just take a look at what is happening at DOJ, and we feel that DOJ should be working for Wisconsinites and not really working for outside groups that are self-interested. Our committee is going to request documentation about this position that is being funded by the Bloomberg Group, and just take a look and make sure that they're not targeting Wisconsin businesses and doing anything that they shouldn't be doing.
Do you anticipate that this investigation could broaden into other aspects of the Department of Justice?
We don't know. We don't know what we don't know, and that's what the committee's focus is going to be. So the committee is focusing on their relationship with the Impact Center and the Bloomberg Philanthropies, and then we're going to, which have placed an extremely amount of time looking at our businesses in the state of Wisconsin and the environmental businesses. Dan Bice wrote an article about this, so the committee is just going to do a deep dive into that. And it's just our part of the legislature's oversight work that we should be doing.
When Senator LeMahieu announced the formation of this committee, he said that it was to ensure that the DOJ is operating within its authority and serving the public interest. Do you have any evidence of any wrongdoing or that it is not acting in the best public interest?
That's the committee's focus, and that's what this afternoon, the committee's first action is going to be requesting documentation relating to the positions. Once that documentation is received, we will be going through it, and that's where we will find out whether or not there is wrongdoing. So to say right now that we know there's wrongdoing, we can't say that.
Do you anticipate?
And that is part of the oversight activities that will be taking place.
Yeah, you said that you're going to be requesting documents. Do you anticipate subpoenaing any testimony?
That is to be determined. Hopefully that will come to that. I would hope that the Department of Justice would be very cooperative in this, because if they are not doing anything wrong, then they should be very willing to work with us to show that everything that they're doing is well within their scope of practice on how they operate.
Could this investigation also see the committee asking Attorney General Josh Kaul to come before you to testify about this?
I would think that that's a definite possibility.
Democrats were quick to come out and say that this is pretty purely political, especially seeing that Attorney General Josh Kaul is running a re-election campaign right now. Why should voters believe you that this is not?
So the legislature has a lot of different duties. The legislature statutorily created the Department of Justice, and it is our duty to make sure that they are operating within their statutory authority. So now we have an Attorney General that has hired people that are connected to an impact center and Michael Bloomberg and third parties. And don't you think that we should make sure that they are not doing anything that is outside of what they should be doing, and that they're not adversely targeting a certain group of businesses within the state? Because if we are not doing our oversight, isn't that a dereliction of our duty as a state legislature? So I would think that our Democratic friends on the opposite side of the aisle would want us to be doing this. So I think that them saying this is political is nonsense, and I think that they should like the fact that the legislature is actually doing oversight.
All right, State Senator Mary Felskowski, Senate President, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
With that, let's bring in Democratic Attorney General Josh Kaul. Mr. Attorney General, good to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
We just heard from Senator Felskowski, the Senate President, who said first in this new committee, they are requesting these documents from the Department of Justice. Will you comply with this initial request?
We are going to review the document request that we received, and we are going to make an appropriate response based on what's in there. Here's what I can say, though. We are happy to talk about the work that we do at the Wisconsin Department of Justice to protect clean air and clean water. In fact, I look forward to having that discussion with members of the legislature. What's concerning to me about this committee is that while it purports to be focused on external influences, it's clearly the committee that's carrying water for polluters here. What we are doing is ensuring that clean air and clean water are protected. And apparently this committee thinks that we are doing that too much. We are doing too much to protect clean air and clean water. So it's the committee that is serving the goals of outside interests here, not the Department of Justice.
Is there a scenario you won't hand over the documents that they're requesting?
Well, we're going to be working with the legislature as we move forward, and like I said, assessing the requests that we got. But again, we are happy to talk about the work that we're doing in this area and to talk about how we have worked to protect clean air and clean water.
And to that, Senator Falzkowski has said she would like to have you come testify before this committee at some point. Are you open to that?
I'm open to it. We'll see what the committee suggests and how the details play out. But the bottom line is it's important for folks to know what's going on here. I mean, this is fundamentally a partisan stunt. The timing of this makes that obvious. The fact that this was just recently created makes that obvious. The fact that the committee doesn't even seem to know what it's going to be doing yet, I think, makes that obvious.
Also this week, as you know, the Trump administration officially sued Wisconsin, demanding the state's voter lists, including names, date of birth, residential addresses, driver's license, last four of Social Security, requesting that within a week-long period. Is the state going to comply with this?
What the federal government is doing here is preposterous. This is, again, a conspiracy theory that the Trump administration is chasing. We have had reviews of our elections in Wisconsin over and over and over again. And what they consistently show is that our elections are free and fair. The Trump administration can go online and purchase information about voters in Wisconsin just like anybody else can. But what they're asking for is personal identifying information. And it's not just in this context. They've done that in other contexts as well, including SNAP. And so what we've got is the federal government trying to gather a bunch of data about people. And that should be concerning to anybody who's worried about our liberty. We don't want to live in a surveillance state. And so, I'm going to be happy to stand up to this effort by the administration.
So fair to say the state will not comply with the Trump administration demand or request here?
Well, the Election Commission made clear that what the Trump administration has requested would violate Wisconsin law. So this appears like it's going to have to be resolved in court because the Trump administration has decided to bring this suit.
Well, why not hand over this data?
Well, this is personal, private information we're talking about. It's also prohibited by state law for this data to be turned over. So there's no way that the commission reasonably could have turned over this information. But again, we believe that protecting people's privacy is important.
Democratic Attorney General Josh Kaul. Attorney General, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, up next, the Dugin verdict and what's next.